You're listening to This Week in South Baltimore, brought to you by SouthBmore.com.
All right, Kev, what is happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, Nate, what's happening? Happy Purple Friday, first Ravens game coming up this Sunday, and happy birthday, Nathan. He had a birthday this past Monday, so our best wishes are with Nate.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I appreciate that. It's weird having a birthday on Labor Day, but, congratulations, everybody. You got the day off in honor of my birthday. Enjoy.
Yeah, the whole country stopped to celebrate Nate Carper. What a day.
Man, it's been a few weeks since we've been back here, and we haven't done a This Week in South Baltimore in a while. We had some vacations, had some time off, but, the fall is almost here. As Kevin said, football's back in, and we got some sports and all kinds of stuff going on, and of course, a lot of news and a lot of events happen around South Baltimore. So let's get started, Kev. But first, the fact that here it is on 9/11/2020. We're recording this podcast today, a very somber day around the country, around the world. Kev, do you remember where you were on 9/11 when it happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I was attending Towson University. I remember when I woke up and my roommate told me the news. I thought he had to be kidding. And, going to Towson University, a school with a lot of New Yorkers, even a lot of people from New Jersey whose parents and family members work in Manhattan, just a very tough day for the Towson community, certainly the entire community around the country and around the world. And, especially, too, I was at that age, I was 20 years old. So a lot of my peers who were in the military reserves, a lot of people joined the military to help get college paid for back then. So I knew it was going to affect a lot of my peers. And so it was certainly a tough day for everybody. And certainly, the world was forever changed for many years after that. And here we are now. But certainly my thoughts are with everybody who's still struggling with, issues from 9/11 or have lost family members. And it's certainly an important day in our country's history, and certainly a tough one.
Yes, absolutely. And that was well said. And thank you for sharing that. And it's true. I was a young 23-year-old and working in Los Angeles at the time, and, just on a business trip. And same thing, went out the night before and had a fantastic evening. My first time in Los Angeles, and first time, driving around the city and just having a good time, taking in the sights and of Hollywood and so forth. And then to wake up the next morning with somebody calling me saying, turn on the TV, the world is in chaos, and seeing the news, and we were just glued to the TV all day. And I remember having to be there for, I think, about 3 weeks before flights picked back up again. And, it's just, I think everybody remembers where they were, and, definitely everything that happened around that. It's hard to imagine, but hopefully we can all, use this as an event every year to at least bring us back together and remember where we were, and how we don't ever want that to be something our kids have to deal with. Would love to transition into better news, but first we are going to get our obligatory COVID-19 updates out of the way and let people know what's going on around the city. For that, it is important to keep them updated on the COVID news, but we'll get to the fun stuff in a few minutes. But Kev, can you update us on anything there around COVID?
Yeah, I'd say there is some good news surrounding COVID-19 when it comes to Baltimore City and Maryland. Maryland now has hospitalizations at 358. That was a report from yesterday. We'll see what comes out today. And patients in ICU is now under 100 at 92. So Maryland's once again making really good progress against COVID-19. Looks like a vaccine may be coming this fall or even before the end of the year. So that would certainly be positive, as we want to see life get back to normal as much as possible. And what Baltimore City is doing is while the state has moved on to a phase 3, which allows basically 75% at retail establishments, Baltimore is now in phase 2, which allows our restaurants and retail and other type of events at 50% indoor capacity. And obviously, we've talked a lot about the expanded outdoor seating that a lot of restaurants have. So hopefully now with that 50% indoor capacity and that expanded outdoor seating, they can get back more towards their business model. And then one other thing that I know has been very important to a lot of the bar owners I've talked to is there was a curfew of 10 p.m. where dining rooms had to be closed by 10 p.m. Now that curfew has been lifted. And I was talking to some bar owners. You had some Capitals playoff games where they had to kick people out after the first or second quarter, third game of the year. The Chiefs come to Baltimore. That's a night football game. So if that curfew was still in place, you basically would have lost all of that business. So I know restaurants are really excited to get an increase in the capacity, and then you get that curfew lifted. So certainly a move in the right direction that hopefully sticks. Hopefully we can move to that 75% capacity as things begin to progress. But certainly a step in a good direction for our small business community.
You know, one of the things that we love about our neighborhood is our businesses, our local businesses, and they are so awesome when it comes to being, creative and how they reapproach their business and how they adapt to COVID and all the changes. And we're going to see some awesome changes come out of this. And I know you have a few really cool changes around the business world here in Sobo to share with us.
Yeah, one of my favorite things of the past few months is just seeing how businesses kind of pivot and adapt to this new reality. You know, I just have so much respect for small business owners, and I know the day-to-day grind it is to own a business. So I just love seeing how everyone has handled this adversity. So our first bit of news is Baba's Mediterranean Kitchen is now Mediterranean Market. They have taken their dining room and they've taken out the tables, and they're making it more of a Mediterranean market concept. Owner Fareed Saloom, he's a big fan of Di Pasquale's, which does an Italian marketplace. So he wanted to do a more Mediterranean version of this, where you can get some of their items like their hummus and their falafel and their baba ganoush and olives, and then a lot of other items like produce and eggs and cheeses and lunch meat. So you'll be able to pick those things up on the new shelves at Baba's Mediterranean Market. But don't worry, you'll still be able to get all your favorite dishes to go. And they're thinking about maybe adding back outdoor seating. They're not sure about that yet, but certainly a change at Baba's where you can get some of their favorite items to bring it home, to keep in your freezer. They said they did really well with kind of like a produce in a bag program. This was one of their motivations to do this. Fareed was telling me this is a concept he's always wanted to do. Maybe thought it'd be kind of a second business concept, but said he's getting a little bit older and doesn't have the energy for two businesses right now. So he's kind of bringing this idea to his location at 745 East 4th Avenue there in Riverside. So make sure to check out the new Baba's. They were a 4-time winner in our South Baltimore's Best competition we did, and we only did it for 2 years. So they racked up two victories each year for 2 years. So people love Baba's, and I think they're going to probably love the changes they're doing there. And then another pivot we saw is Moo Moo Cows has opened at 926 Light Street. This first floor space was formerly the home of Marcus Boyd Realty. Marcus Boyd Realty is still open. They're in a different section of the building, but now you have Moo Moo Cows is open. They have a lot of different flavors of scooped ice cream sundaes and different milkshakes. So another ice cream option. We'll now have 4 ice cream shops in Federal Hill, as the Charmery is already open. Be More Licks is opening right across the street on Light Street. And then you have Taharka Brothers, which is coming to Cross Street Market. So hope everybody loves ice cream, because we're going to have a lot of really good ice cream in Federal Hill. We'll all be willing judges in that competition, that's for sure. So another new business coming to Cross Street Market as they begin to fill up that space after its redevelopment. They now have just 2 spaces left to lease, as Crepe Crazy is the newest business coming to Cross Street Market. This is a cool story. It's a deaf-owned business. 2 immigrants that came to the United States from the former Soviet Union, Vladimir and Ina Gitterman. They started their business in the Austin, Texas area, where they have a couple other restaurants, and they're bringing this concept to Cross Street Market. It's going to be owned by the franchise owners of Ruslan and Betsy Kulikov. So this is a cool business. They like to hire people who are deaf, get them employed, and then they have some really tasty looking crepes and sandwiches. So this will be coming to Cross Street Market. So not only can you have a nice lunch or dinner, but you can support a cool mission at the same time. Another cool story, Berg Brothers Recycling, which has a big facility in Carroll Camden, 1401 West Hamburg Street. The owner, Adam Berg, was walking around and saw some kind of graffiti artists looking for potential places for murals, to find some owners they could kind of partner with and put some of their artwork up. And these guys like to remain a little bit of an anonymous, but he partnered with these graffiti artists, and they put some really cool murals wrapping his campus down there in Carroll Camden. They also put a mural on one of his other buildings he has adjacent to there. And then they found another little wall on Ellicott Dredges to put another one of their murals. So really cool artwork down there in Carroll Camden that people can go and check out. And, I've really enjoyed following these industrial businesses in Carroll Camden as I've run southbeamer.com. Sometimes industrial maybe isn't the most exciting thing for people to see or talk about or go check out, but there's really a lot of business owners down in Carroll Camden that are really passionate about what they do. They're passionate about improving the appearance of that area and getting some cool businesses in there. So I've loved meeting some of the people involved in industrial Baltimore down there. It's just cool to see the behind the scenes. And here's a cool example of an owner that wants his property to look as good as possible and found a really cool partnership. And these artists say they're going to come back every year and redo the murals. So it could be a good thing to check out on a bike ride or a walk or a drive to check out this new artwork. And then an interesting pivot here to Breezy's, which has become one of the most popular wedding venues here in South Baltimore. They have that beautiful building right there on Harbor View, which just has those great views overlooking the marina and the inner harbor. Now, this first opened in 2007 just as a restaurant. And then they expanded in 2010 where they had this big new wedding venue on the second floor. And eventually weddings and corporate parties got so busy that it was just too hard to run their kitchen for a restaurant and these big plate events they had going on. But now, unfortunately, weddings really aren't happening right now with COVID-19 going on. So the owner, Michael Tabrizi's, he's pivoting, and they're gonna reopen the restaurant. The restaurant is open each day for dinner. They do carry out, and you can come in there and enjoy a meal in their dining room or on their big patio they have down there. So I know he was really encouraged by the Harbor View community. They wanted a place they could walk and have dinner right in their own community, and it's a good fit because De Pasquale's is open for breakfast and lunch each day, and then you can go to Breezy's for dinner. So Michael was telling me he anticipates a really big 2021 for weddings. He thinks it could almost be kind of double the business of previous year. But, he's also excited about getting the restaurant open, and he hopes to find a formula where he can at least have the outdoor patio and restaurant open year round while the weddings are going on. So you can give that amenity for the neighborhood, a place to have dinner, have drinks, but you can also have the wedding venue at the same time. So Michael's been in the neighborhood since 1990. He's constantly evolved in the way he's doing his business. And here's another evolution, and definitely go down there and get a nice drink on the waterfront. And then a cool concept here, Sobo Cafe, looking to drum up a little bit of extra business here during this pandemic. So they launched a concept called Foul Play Wraps. So these are these chicken wraps. You can get them in buffalo or barbecue, Asian inspired, Greek inspired, a nuclear wrap, which is really spicy. They have a vegan version. So they launched this wrap concept, which you can either get it to go from Sobo Cafe or it's available delivery through Grubhub. So this concept is run out of their kitchen. So it's kind of like a satellite business run through Sobo Cafe. They came up with this wrap concept. They say they're super delicious. So definitely check out their chicken wraps, a cool way to, kind of evolve in what you're doing. Owner Anna Leventis is certainly a great entrepreneur. She has Anula's Greek Kitchen and Cross Street Market. She has Sobo Market. Sobo Cafe is always one of the most beloved restaurants in South Baltimore. So just constantly working hard, coming up with new ideas, and is doing it again. And another cool story we touched on in a previous podcast, Tiny Brick Oven reached out for their customers for some help. Their business has struggled during COVID-19. They had a big electric bill due. They reached out to their customers and supporters on social media. Hey, come in and buy some pizzas, help us out. This led to a really cool pay it forward program where they sold almost 200 of these pay it forward pizzas. And what owner Will Fagg is doing is he's having a pizza kitchen for the homeless this Monday, a very cool event from 4 to 8 p.m. They're taking all these pay it forward pizzas and they're going to serve the homeless. So a really cool event where it's people helping people helping people. People wanted to come in and help Will's business. Then they had this idea to help the homeless. So now just a great event. Anybody that knows me knows my affinity for pizza. So really cool for some of the hungry and needy in this area to get some really good pizza this Monday. That should be an awesome event. Some tough news for Under Armour. They are continually restructuring their company. And obviously, COVID-19 has been tough for a business like Under Armour that has a big retail presence. So unfortunately, they're going to be laying off 600 employees. They have a global workforce of over 12,000. So they haven't quite said yet how Baltimore might be impacted by that. But unfortunately, another round of layoffs there for Under Armour. They've done this several times over the last few years as they're restructuring their company to get it more financially sound. But, we'll see how that plays out. But certainly Under Armour is a big part of South Baltimore, and everything they do has an effect on, a lot of things in South Baltimore.
You said that's globally, right?
Yeah, it's globally. Yeah, typically when they've done these layoffs, the effect on South Baltimore hasn't been huge, but you never know. You never know what parts of their company those layoffs will affect. And if it's just a few jobs and South Baltimore lost, our thoughts are certainly with the people who lose those jobs. But we will see. But I know Under Armour is a scrappy company that's fighting hard to do as well as they can, and I know they'll work hard to come back strong out of all this as well as they can.
So we also have some developments in the world of real estate around South Baltimore.
Yeah, for sure. So the Baltimore Development Corporation is offering up a unique development opportunity here in Pigtown, right on Pigtown Main Street, Washington Boulevard. The Pigtown Library is offered for developers for a mixed-use development. So essentially what the city is looking for is somebody to come in and build a mixed-use building. This could be apartments, this could be commercial, this could be office space. But part of the caveat is they want a new minimum 3,600 square foot library for Pigtown to go in there. So cool opportunity. This is a big lot. And there's not a lot of development opportunities in Pigtown. Unfortunately, it's just a neighborhood that's a lot of row houses and there's not a ton of development opportunities. So here's a unique one where somebody could come in and build like an apartment building or an office building right on Main Street, which could really help fuel some of that retail growth you're seeing there. And, we're continuing to see some of these investments right there on Main Street in Pigtown. You have the Groundwork Kitchen, a multi-million-dollar culinary training center and restaurant that's coming to Washington Boulevard there. You have Bathhouse Square, which was a apartment complex that's bringing Milk and Honey Market, which is a coffee shop and cafe. Then you have the former St. Paul Church, which has Mobtown Ballroom, but a new development team is coming in and taking the old school there and turning that into apartments. So really, you're seeing a lot of nice multi-million-dollar investments right there on Pigtown Main Street, which is great to see as that neighborhood looks to improve and diversify the assets it has as far as retail and commercial and apartments. So really cool news there. Stadium Square, just a little bit east of Pigtown, they have that big 72,000 square foot office building, which is now at about 80% leased. They just got a new lease with Forward PMX. That's a 3,945 square foot lease. So they're working hard to get that building that was built a few years ago fully leased. And they're working with Newman Knight Frank to get that done as soon as Stadium Square can get that building leased. They have a couple other office buildings they're looking to build in that, in those couple blocks there. So Stadium Square, it's got, apartment building that's been built already, that office building. They're looking to build another apartment building here this coming spring, and there's a couple new office buildings. So that's a $300 million plus $million project that's moving along there in South Baltimore / Sharp-Leadenhall. So that's moving along, and certainly it can be a tough time for leasing, but we're seeing a lot of movement here in the local commercial market. And then very exciting project down in Cherry Hill, Reedbird Park, which is a former landfill, which, currently has, a basketball court and some tennis courts and a playground, but really a lot of space that isn't utilized as well as it can. So now there's this big plan by Baltimore City Recreation and Parks to redevelop this park into not only a great asset for Cherry Hill and the adjacent South Baltimore communities, but they wanted this to be kind of a regional park where you can host a soccer tournament or a lacrosse tournament or bring in some cool events. So this is getting started as the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation is partnering with Baltimore City Recreation and Parks and their sponsors to build one of their very cool multi-use turf fields there, which will be right along Hanover Street there that you'll be able to see from the highway. So that it's going to be this cool new field that's going to have turf. It's going to have lights. It's going to have some seating so they can go there and, really have that all weather surface that you can use at all times. Part of the redevelopment of the park, there's going to be 3 additional fields that people can use. And then something big and exciting is the 35,000 square foot Middle Branch Fitness and Wellness Center. This is going to have basketball courts. It's going to have pools. It's going to have a gym. It's going to have community spaces. So that's expected to break ground this fall. That's a project by Baltimore City Recreation and Parks. And certainly the new field is BGE Field presented by Kelly. So there's some sponsors on that. The South Baltimore Gateway Partnership is donating a lot of money to all these projects. South Baltimore Gateway Partnership manages the casino grants for South Baltimore generated by Maryland Casinos. So they're really excited about this project. So really taking an old landfill and turning it into this regional sports park. So a very exciting project to keep an eye on. And then in Port Covington, as that project is really going to be a big story for the next few decades, they're on a little bit of a pause right now with infrastructure, which is expected to kick back up here in the next couple of months or weeks. But, we've seen quite a few buildings in planning already with Port Covington. They've got this Rye Street Market complex plan, which will have a public market and some office buildings, a couple other apartment buildings. They have a hotel plan. They're looking to lower a grocery store. So now they're partnering with this company, Alexandria Real Estate Equities, which is based in Pasadena, California, on a project. It's going to be a 6-story, 169,812 square foot lab, manufacturing, and office building. So this is cool. I guess you're seeing in a lot of developments, what you see is you'll see developers kind of build their own buildings, and then they'll partner with other companies kind of on pad site development, where you'll kind of sell a lot to somebody else where they'll bring in their vision and do their building. So very cool. It's not unlike what we've seen at Stadium Square. So Port Covington really showing their first partnership with another development company on a building. And, it's exciting to think of, the vision the Port Covington development team will have. And then they can partner with some of these other businesses like Alexandria, who's done a lot of cool work, they say, in the health sciences field. So yeah, very exciting to see that project moving along. And I think probably a year from now, it might just be Crane City down there in Port Covington, as you'll see probably 4 to 5 to 6 buildings under construction. So that'll be quite the sight from Hanover Street or I-95.
Kev, thank you for the real estate development update. Appreciate that, of course. And, it's hard to believe that, like you said at the top of the show here, it's Purple Friday, and the Ravens are going to be back on Sunday. And the fact that football's back in general, makes things feel kind of normal. Also gets me excited for the fall. So I know you got some updates on the sports going on around town.
Yeah, I hope everybody's enjoying the return to sports. So, yeah, the Ravens get started this 1 p.m. versus the Browns. Ravens with a 14-2 regular season last year, so they'll hope to pick up right where they left off in the regular season. The Browns, always a good rivalry there, a young team as well, just like the Ravens. So we'll see what happens in that game. Unfortunately, you won't be able to go to the game, but, you can purchase a cutout of yourself to be at the game and hopefully create some environment there. But we'll see how that evolves throughout the season. If you watch the Chiefs-Texans game there, they had some people in the stands, not at full capacity, but certainly a fraction of it. So we'll see how that evolves. But it'll be probably the most interesting Ravens home game since I've lived in South Baltimore, as there'll be a game going on. And we'll see, I think some bars will put some TVs outside, and we'll see if any of the tailgate parties still happen. But it'll certainly be a very interesting game day environment. But, for Ravens fans, get ready to cheer the team on. And hopefully, this team has Super Bowl type expectations. So we'll see what they can do. Obviously, the playoffs will determine really how successful this season is. But I know people are excited to get back at it. And I always say, as a longtime Baltimore sports fan, if you can still care about the Orioles when the Ravens season starts, you're having a good year. And obviously, this has been a very interesting and delayed baseball season, but the Orioles are just 1.5 games out of the playoffs right now. They start a 4-game series tonight with the Yankees, who is 1.5 games ahead of them. So really could be a pivotal series here. And it's been an exciting team to watch. You're seeing some young players like Cedric Mullins and DJ Stewart and Ryan Mountcastle, some guys that didn't contribute much to the team in years past. Ryan Mountcastle, this is his rookie year, who are making big contributions, and we've seen some young pitchers in recent weeks. So really an exciting time for local sports, other than the fact that it's all on your television.
Right. Very. That's true. Yep. One thing I'm curious about, Kev, is you mentioned you can buy a cutout of yourself for the Ravens game. I'm curious do you know anything about how that works, or if people wanted to do that? That seems interesting, I guess, how that would even happen.
Yeah. So you contact the Ravens, and, I believe that the price was, around $45 to $55, depending on if you're a PSL holder. And essentially you upload a picture of yourself and your Ravens gear and kind of the framing they want. And they would, produce a cardboard cutout of yourself to put in the seats. And if you've looked around some different stadiums like Dodger Stadium, the Orioles just played at Citi Field, great company there in New York. They did a really good job with putting cardboard cutouts throughout their stadium. So it's interesting, it gives it an interesting look for sure. Probably looks better than empty seats, but we'll see how it looks at the Ravens' first game.
Awesome. So we got that to look forward to. And now, everybody, we're going to start a new little segment here on This Week in South Baltimore that we like to call Great Plates of Late Around South Baltimore. We're going to share just some cool meals, or just, maybe it's a cool, unique beverage or something, some kind of cool eats that we've had around town. So, we talked earlier about Anna and what she does at Sobo Cafe and Sobo Market. And, one thing I think that is very underrated, Kev, is the burger at Sobo Market. I mean, I shouldn't say it's underrated. I'm sure it's very highly rated, but in terms of when you think about great burgers around South Baltimore, I think that's one of the best burgers I've ever had anywhere. So I don't know if you've ever had it there, man, but it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love a good burger, and I love just about everything from Soba Cafe. So I got to try that out. I'm sure they're knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. How about you? Any great plates of late for you around town?
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to finally get out and about a little bit in South Baltimore, which, gosh, one of the great parts of living here is all the good food. So I was lucky to get a date night with my wife, Christine. We got a plate of carbonara and a margarita pie from Hirsch's, which was fantastic. I got a pizza recently from Barflies. I'm a big pizza fan, and both those pizzas were just tremendous. Got an awesome fried chicken sandwich from Outpost, which was really good. We got that carry out one night, and was excited to try the new pit beef stall at Cross Street Market. Baltimore loves its pit beef, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all with Bullhead. Very good, and got a very tasty snowball from Ice Queens, a very unique New Orleans style shaved ice they're doing. So really good. Just so excited to be getting out more and more in South Baltimore, supporting local businesses, and eating good food and coming up with ideas for what I'm cooking at home.
Absolutely. And I'm right there with you. My wife and I and the kids, one of the things that attracted us to this neighborhood is the fact that you can walk around, eat and drink your way around town and never have the same thing twice. And it's just amazing. So that's one of the great benefits of living in South Baltimore is our great food and great businesses and all that. And we do want to also open up this podcast. If you ever have questions out there, questions you'd like us to address, or any insight you may have, or anything you want to share, any feedback, things like that, we'll bring it up on the show here.
Certainly don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter or Facebook or email. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to dive into here on the podcast or on the site. We'd love to know what you're interested in, and hope to solve those curiosities for you.
All right, Kev, I think that's a wrap for this week in South Baltimore. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks again for listening. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you're looking to advertise for any businesses or events or things going on. We'd love to have your support of our website. Hopefully everybody has a great week. Enjoy Ravens football. Enjoy the Orioles. Enjoy South Baltimore living. And thanks for listening.
You're listening to This Week in South Baltimore, brought to you by SouthBeemore.com.